Hello, everyone. Brazil are out of the World Cup. Welcome to the Brazil preview. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. But Brazil have gone out. Just watched. That's why we're a little bit late. Apologies, but as you can understand, we needed to watch that penalty shootout.
Yeah.
Wasn't expected to go extra time and pens. It did do, and Croatia knocked Brazil out. So bit of a madness there. Welcome to Real Reds Talk, the #1 independent fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. On today's agenda, we're going to be discussing the Glazers not taking dividends for the first time since 2015. We're going to react to the 4-2 loss to Cadiz in Manchester United friendly. PSG's president has been talking about Marcus Rashford, and we're going to discuss Sancho and his personal programme with the Dutch coaches. But first, I need to introduce our guest, Mr. Shreya Singh. We've been alongside each other for half an hour now watching the football. But still, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fairly well. Really happy to see Croatia win as well. Wasn't expecting that. I thought there was another twist, that was remaining in this World Cup. So I think that was this penalty shootout. So yeah, doing fairly well. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm good. It has to be said that the penalties that Croatia took were really, really good, weren't they? Like, they are good at penalties. And I didn't really, when Marquinhos was stepping up, we was both kind of like, I'm not sure why Marquinhos is stepping up here. And then he ended up hitting the post, and he proved us right. So happy for Croatia. I would have loved to have seen Argentina versus Brazil in the semi-final. But look, this World Cup's been full of surprises, and the surprises continue. So yeah, it is about today's show is about Manchester United, but yeah, big up to Croatia because they've done well there. If you want to subscribe to our channel, just click the button in the bottom right corner of your screen, smash a like on the video as well, and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subs by the end of the year if you can. If you love the content, share it to friends and stuff as well. If you love football content, World Cup content, all that kind of jazz, and make sure you share it to friends. Let's start off with the Chuck Blazers, aka the Glazers. Shreyas. So the first quarter results have come in. They got announced yesterday. And that includes the board of directors did not approve the payment of the semi-annual dividend for fiscal 2023. Decision reflected factors including the significant investment made in the team last summer. In other words, basically, they drained the club. Manchester United cash balance fell from 121 million at the 30th of June to 24 million on the 30th of September. Total net interest paid by Manchester United since being acquired by the Glazer family in 2005 is 917 million, which works out as £1 million a week. That's how much they've took out. Just to put into perspective how crazy our debt is, we paid 9.6 million in interest this quarter. That's nearly £40 million a year, meaning the club needs to sell quick. £24 million in cash and cash equivalents. This is the first time since 2016 that the Glazers won't be taking any dividends out of the club. Do these financial results surprise you at all, Shreyas?
They don't. I think everyone knew how the Glazers were actually operating. Manchester, everyone knew how they were operating with the money. That when they acquired the club was in debt. And the way they used to chuck cash around and the way they used to, take out dividends, even, during the pandemic era as well. And every single club in the world was struggling with, how to maintain their money in the transfer market, how to go after players, how to basically, go about daily operations in there as well. The Glazers didn't, they didn't even hesitate in taking their dividends at the time they wanted to take them out. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me how our financial situation in Manchester United is now coming out to be. And it makes much more sense now as well as to why they are looking to sell, so immediately. So yeah, I think everything checks out in the story. And yeah, I think whoever is going to be coming in, they do have a big job at hand because they don't. I think there's one thing about the stadium. There's another thing about how to maintain this squad and how to rebuild this team, and then there's another thing about how to completely manage this whole financial thing, Manchester United as well. So whoever's going to be coming in, they have a big job at their hands.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll be able to manage it as long as they don't fucking take as much money out as what the Glazers do, especially during a pandemic season where match day revenue's down and certain things like this. They're probably going to make about 10 times profit on United anyway. So 10 to 20 million pound, it's not going to be the end of the world, is it?
Exactly. And we got Vincent Bullock in the chat saying that's a good sign if they're leaving us and selling the club fast. In a way, it is. I think in a way it definitely is a good sign that we might be able to get new management in by the time the next season kicks in. But I think right now it is the time when we can just see how much damage is actually done and how much repair and how much time is it actually going to take for Manchester United to be in a stable situation once again. But yes, I think it is going to be really hard.
What ownership would you prefer? Do you have a preference?
To be honest, up until now, I don't really have a preference because right now, even now, I think we are just getting linked with people. Whether it's the Dubai fund, whether it's some Saudi fund, whether it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or someone else. I think when someone comes out officially, when someone actually comes out and speaks out about it, I think that's when we can actually start to build preferences. Because right now all United fans are just looking at someone who is rich enough to operate this club and bring it back to the level it used to be at. But the personality which is going to do it, I think it will only be clear once someone actually comes out officially and speaks out about it, that they do want to buy Manchester United and what's their idea and what do they want to bring to the club. Because no matter what happens, the fans are going to play a big role actually acquires the club later on.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I ask is because you've got a couple of parties that are rumoured to be taken over. So we know Dubai, a state ownership.
Yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe, a wealthy kind of billionaire, a British wealthy billionaire, and then the US investors. Who there's loads of them who own separate teams in America. So is there any preference on that, or again, are you not really thinking about that until it actually becomes concrete news? Who's going to take over?
Yeah, I
And to
think
people who's watching as well, let me know in the comment section who you want as who you would prefer as the owners if they was to come in and take over the club.
I think right now I genuinely don't have a preference because we have a diversity of owners, in the Premier League right now. You can see Chelsea having American owners. You can see Manchester City and Newcastle having Saudi owners. So, and if you look into the three clubs, the only difference that those three clubs at the moment have is how much money they've got. If you and I think all of them, when it comes to being financially strong, they all are. I think Chelsea are very are blessed with funds at the moment. I think that their American ownership is actually paying off. They're able to they're able to invest very heavily in the market. I think with Newcastle as well, the way they've been progressing in the markets ever since their new ownership has kicked in has been fantastic as well. You can see 3 to 4 players being signed in every single window, and they haven't really overpaid for any of them, and they've all been quality signings at the same time. So I think right now we need someone who's rich, who has this mindset as to how they can operate in this site in this type of market as well, where we can see that certain player, like we've seen that United has a history of overpaying for British players. United has a um, tendency to actually drag deals on for too long, like 2 to 3 months, and then get the player. Then there's a shortage of planning. And we've seen that happen with Anthony. We've seen the Frankie De Jong saga. We've seen countless of these. So I think any United fan, I think we can't really attach our heart to any of these owners right now because we don't know with what ideology they're going to be coming in.
But the things that they bring is more of my issue, because if it's a state ownership, you have the human rights
Yeah.
record that comes with that.
Yeah.
So then you have to morally decide if you're comfortable enough with that to be attached to something that you love. You've got the British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe. If he comes in, he's not going to be able to compete with these owners of Newcastle and the owners of Man City financially. So then, are you going to happy with United just getting fourth? Maybe they can get first through whatever miracle, but Pep staying at City, the money that they're spending, it's going to be hard to beat them in the Premier League, as we all know. And then the US investors, we could get another Glazer family.
Exactly.
So it's there's a lot of worries with each one. So maybe you are right. Maybe we should just wait and see a couple of months, and see what kind of ownership starts to become a little bit more concrete. If someone's to put a gun to your head now, though, who do you think will take over?
I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe might, because I think he's been a constant name for about 3 years now. Ever since the Super League has started, we could see Jim Ratcliffe being announced around Chelsea. seen him being linked with United, then with Liverpool, then ever since United actually became officially for sale, he completely backed off Liverpool and once again came into the race for United. So I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe might, but if it is just going to be a bidding war, I think we all know how the Glazers operate. They're just going to highest bid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very important point to make before we move on to the Rashford discussion. Ultimately, the fans don't really have a say in it. It's going to be whoever offers the most money, and it's to the Glazers. They probably don't give a fuck whoever it is. They was talking that they was doing it strategically and they're going to do what's best for it, but they're not. They're just going to if they get offered 10 billion tomorrow, they'll fucking take it. You can take that to the bank. Excuse the pun. Right, let's move on to Marcus Rashford then. The PSG president has been talking about him openly as well, which is, he's putting it out there. And the quote coming from him says, maybe in the summer, why not? I asked if he wanted to sign Marcus Rashford. But today, if he is a free agent, we can talk to him directly, but we are not going to talk to him now. Let him focus on the World Cup, and after, hopefully in January, we will talk to him. He said he's another player who's amazing and for free. To have Rashford for free, every club will run after him. So obviously that's in regards to his contract situation because we still need to sort that, like Dalot's, like a couple of others as well. This time last year, Shreyas, a lot of fans were saying let him go. I wasn't one of them personally, but a lot of fans were saying that. He's completely turned his form around now. I can't speak. Completely turned his form around now. I doubt the fans would have the same stance, but what about yourself? Where do you stand on Rashford's situation at the minute?
I think it's going to be really tricky with Rashford because if you don't look at it from a fan's perspective and look at it from a Ten Hag perspective, I would say currently we've got two players who are fighting for that left wing position, except Rashford. You've got Jadon Sancho and you've got someone like Alejandro Garnacho who's actually coming off the ranks from the youth academy and actually really really well in that position. And then you've got Marcus Rashford who's finally been able to find his confidence. Can see him getting his shade back. We can see him getting his groove back as well. So I think first of all, it's going to come down to the manager. I think secondly, it's going to come down to the player as well. I think if Marcus Rashford actually wants to stay at United, I think there's going to be any way that Ten Hag would actually want to see him because he has proved really, really instrumental to Ten Hag the time that he's been here. He's been getting a lot of goals as well. Most of them when he's been playing as a striker as well, not even as a left winger. So I think with Rashford, I see him. I genuinely see him staying. I don't think that he'll. Unless something crazy happens, I don't see Marcus Rashford leaving. But you never know. I think this transfer window is actually going to be really important as well because if Cody Gakpo actually comes in, then you might be having a conversation as to is Marcus Rashford going to be leaving? What happens to Jadon Sancho? How is Garnacho going to be used? Is Gakpo going to be used as a striker or as a left winger? I think this transfer window is going to answer a lot of questions for.
Yeah, definitely. And we know PSG themselves, they like to sign these big talents with a big reputation. But could this be deeper than that when you look at someone like Marcus Rashford, how he transcends in marketing and the community? And these similar like sports washing, why the reason why they bought PSG, the reason why the Saudi owners bought Newcastle, they want to have a public kind of display in a certain way. So do you think signing Marcus Rashford could help with that as well? And that's one of the reasons why they might be going for it.
I think definitely it does because what Marcus Rashford has been doing, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And in that sense, he does bring a completely different social image and a social audience towards the club. And I think except that one more reason could also be that he's one of the biggest reasons why PSG have been getting knocked out of the Champions League so often. So they might be looking into that factor as well. So
just to make sure it don't happen again.
Yeah, and he seems to turn up at their stadium every single time when he plays there.
Yeah, it does. What about Kylian Mbappe then? Because could he be his replacement? I know he signed a new contract recently, but you know what Mbappe is like. If he was very, very close to moving to Real Madrid. Neymar isn't getting any younger. Messi will probably move on in the summer. Maybe they're looking at Rashford as the next kind of star they can make there. Do you think?
Yeah, I think.
And does he have an extra question as well? Does he have the talent level to reach stardom in Paris.
I think if you look at it from PSG's perspective, like the past 8 years, when it comes to their forwards, they always have had superstars. They've had Edinson Cavani, they've had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, then they've got Kylian Mbappe and Neymar, then they've had Messi. So now, when it has come to the time that Messi could be leaving, Neymar could actually be leaving as well. Mbappe, even though he signed a new contract, he's come out and said that he wants to leave. He's not happy at PSG. He's made a mistake and stuff like that. So um, if you take these three out of the picture, who are the biggest forwards in world football at the moment? Erling Haaland isn't going to go to PSG, and even the rest of the players. I think if you look at it realistically, you can only go for players who are not in a concrete position at their club at the moment. And Marcus Rashford, I would say, could fall into that category right now because United is in a position where the ownership could be sold, so you can actually not make any statement about the players themselves. And I think with Rashford, when you look at it from PSG's perspective, their league isn't really that competitive. And the way PSG play, if you take out their attackers, just look at the entire squad. I think that it is blessed with talent. I think if you put someone like Marcus Rashford in there, of course he's going to have a lot of chances. So it could work out for him at PSG a lot because I think he could score a lot of goals in that setup where he just needs to run in and score goals because that's pretty much how they operate right now. And yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a Kylian Mbappe replacement because I think Mbappe is a completely different breed of talent.
Definitely.
I definitely think so. I think he might have some respect or attitude issues, but what he does on the pitch, I think right now no one can actually, replicate that. And I think Rashford does have the talent to be someone special. I don't know if it is able to match Kylian Mbappe, but I do think that, he can be a really, really, really good player.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, I was going to say when Gakpo comes in, that's how confident I am that deal is going to happen. But it's going to be interesting to see when he comes in because you talk about pecking order. I want to speak about Elanga and other players and Sancho later on. You talk about the pecking order when Gakpo comes in. You've got Antony at the club who spent 85 million, so you can guarantee he's going to start. The new signing Gakpo, he's going to have a lot of minutes. Martial will probably play up top because Ronaldo's gone. So then, is that going to be a shared role? Like, just talk to me quickly about the Gakpo situation. It wasn't on tonight's thinking, but I'm interested on your thoughts because we haven't really spoken about this. Are you happy for him to come in? If he does come in January, do you still want a striker in the summer? Like, yeah, talk to me about that.
Before I get into that, we've got a couple of comments in the chat. Joseph Jack saying, "Who do you think will win the boot?" And Zoe's Media House saying, "Rashford would be stupid to leave Manchester United now."
Yeah, Golden Boot. The easy shout is Mbappe, innit? He's on 5 goals, so that's the easy shout. But look, the way this World Cup's going at the minute, it could be anyone.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to someone different, I'll just go with Gakpo. Just fuck it. We're talking about him, so I'll go with Gakpo. What about you, Shreyas?
I'm gonna stick with Bruno. I think the
Bruno,
way,
yeah.
I mean, I put him in as a joke at the start when we had this conversation about the Golden Boot. But the way he's been playing in this World Cup has been absolutely incredible. I think he's one of the players who could be up for player of the tournament. The way he's been performing for Portugal right now, and I think when think about Gakpo, I think Gakpo is, if you look at it from the World Cup way, he's been carrying Netherlands. Like he is the one who everything is going through him. He plays as a 10 in that system, and he does that job really, really well. And when he does come into United, he does give us that freedom to put him in at a left wing, put him in as a 10, as a right winger, or even as a striker. But I think that's what Ten Hag is actually looking for the most, getting in players who can offer the same quality in multiple positions. And yeah, I think we definitely do need someone like Gakpo because if we are in a situation where Antony gets injured, we can't really bank on Elanga. We do need someone else to actually come in and do a job for us. So I do think that someone like Gakpo definitely needs to come in. If he does, feature for us off the left wing, because when Antony is fit, Antony is going to play. When Bruno is fit, Bruno is going to play as a 10. And if I think even if we do get Gakpo, he isn't going to be coming cheap now. I think he'll definitely come in for like about 55 to 80, 55 to 65 million, at least in that range, the way he's been performing at the World Cup. So
and he's playing in what, half an hour. If he puts in a good performance against Argentina, it's going to go like
exactly,
that, isn't it? Even more.
exactly. His price could
Yeah.
easily go up to 70, 75 million right now. And
Oh, for sure.
if we do spend, that chunk of cash on a player, I don't see him, warming up the benches. So if he does come in, I do see him featuring. We could have a front three of Gakpo, if Martial is fit, Martial. But if Martial isn't fit, we could be seeing Rashford in that role again, or maybe Gakpo. But one of them would definitely be in that squad, and then Anthony of the right wing. I think that's when you can actually spark the conversation about whether it's going to be Sancho or Garnacho who's going to be rotated around. But I think Sancho right now, we've invested in him a really really big chunk of cash to actually keep him as a rotational player. I think when we did sign him, we thought other players could come in and do the job for us when Sancho is being rested. So
Yeah.
I think, and I don't think Sancho is the kind of player who would be interested in being a player who would be happy with okay, you this dude has played 60 minutes, now we need a rest, we need fresh legs on, so you can come on. I don't think he's the kind of player who's satisfied with that role. So it is going to be really, really interesting because if he cannot offer Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford, first team football, one of them definitely would have to leave when Gakpo does come in.
Yeah, we're going to touch on Jadon Sancho towards the end as well because I want to speak about his personal program and stuff. But I want to discuss the friendly we played against Cadiz yesterday in Spain. We lost 4-2. Had two different teams that played different halves. A lot of young players in there, quite a few senior players in there as well. Martial and Kobe Mino, who scored for us on the two goals. Ten Hag wasn't happy after the performance. He said there was a lot of negatives and very few positives, which isn't great to hear. Can we read into that result too much, do you think, with it being a friendly?
Before I get in that, we've got in the chat saying Rashford to PSG, are United crazy? United is completely broke. This may be a blessing in disguise if we get a very big, rich owner.
Yeah, well, 2 points. Rashford, I personally don't think Rashford to go. I think it'd be stupid to go if he does. Very rich owners. Look, let's wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think over the course of January, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and
sorry, the friendly we was talking about. Yeah,
I think
can we read into this result too much?
I think can't really read into it much because there's a lot of players who don't really feature for us, on a regular basis for featuring in that game. But what is a big worry sign is that the players who do feature for us, some of them were actually playing that game and they didn't really look that sharp. They looked really rusty. They didn't look at the race at all. I think Donny van de Beek, I think he still has a lot of work to do. I don't think he was that impressive.
He's been an absolute ghost.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think he's cutting the job as a number 10. I don't think job as a number 10. And if this continues, I think within this January window, we definitely need to be getting in, either getting getting rid of Donny van de Beek or getting someone, because we do need someone else than Christian Eriksen in that squad to actually play for us at times. We have a huge amount of games coming up. We might be, because of the Europa League, we might be playing 3 times a week as well. So it is going to put a lot of pressure on the players. So I think Donny van de Beek is a big worry sign. I think even now Anthony Martial for me is a big worry sign as well, because if he does get injured, it is going to be a very very big blow for us. Considering we are still rumored to sign players, we haven't signed players yet. So striker position is going to be a big worry sign. I think rest of the squad, I think we'll still have to. I think Casemiro, whenever he comes in, I think he's going to pass for us. Lisandro Martinez would be coming in. I think what I'm really, really hoping for is Varane doesn't get injured in the remainder of this tournament, because if he does get injured, we're once again going to be in a really, really tough position. And so I do hope that he's able to return fit from the French squad. And yeah, I think except that I don't really have that many worry signs. But yes, I do think that in that game, some of our players could definitely have done much, much better.
Well, I want to bring it back to the midfield because Donny van der Beek has been a ghost. I'll tell you one player I'd take. I don't know if you watched the Morocco-Spain game. One player from Morocco, Amrabat, in the midfield.
Yeah.
He must have ran about 30 kilometers in that game. He was absolutely everywhere. So someone like that, just a little utility player you could bring. I know we have Fred, but Fred's very hit and miss, and he has like one good game out of like four bad ones. Like he's very hit and miss. So I would like to bring a young engine like a Valverde, who we're not going to get.
Yeah.
But so that kind of player, or that type of player, I would love. We mentioned Elanga before. I want to pick up back on that. He's going to have to go on loan, innit? Especially if Gakpo comes in, right?
Definitely. I think it is important for him as well to actually go out on loan now. I think he still needs to develop a lot. I think he, polish his game up a little bit, because being in the Premier League, you can't just rely on pace. If you have no end product, we see that with a lot of players now. And I think Elanga, I think when it comes to his fitness and his athleticism, I think he's really, really good. I think he's actually one of the best at the club. But you do need to find a balance. And I think if he goes to, a championship club, he could be actually doing really, really good. So I hope he actually gets a loan deal soon, because he does stay at United for the remainder of the season as well. I don't see him getting any minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a long road for him, especially if we get a few more signings.
Exactly.
Now he's way down, and we got someone like Ahmad, who's killing it at Sunderland at the minute as well, who could come back from loan, who'll probably take his place as well, because Ahmad is a far better technical player than Elanga is.
Yeah.
I've been watching very closely. Yeah. And let's see what happened with your boy as well, Palestra.
He's been coming back from the World Cup as well, so
yeah, so you never know. Elanga could find himself right at the bottom of the deck. Last question on the friendly. Judging from what you saw, aside from Garnacho, do you think there's anyone out of them youngsters who can push for first 10 minutes in the cup games?
I know would definitely be players who could push up for minutes. I think he looked decent. I think he's I think one of the things that I liked about him the most was that he's really raw at a really young age. So you can actually, craft him to be the player you actually want him to be. So I think he's one of the players you could, but yes, except that I think I don't think I was impressed much by Brandon Williams. I don't think any of the other players really sparked that much. I think it was pretty dead game from United. If you have to, like take Garnacho out, or I think pretty much Garnacho, because except that it just looked like a pretty flat game from United, which I didn't expect, because I thought that
it was
not the kind of game I would have expected from them, because these are the players who actually need to push for minutes in the first 11. And I think even Dubravka, I don't think he had a really good game.
That's
I think
Dubravka
looked really
the full
shocking.
11, really.
Yeah.
There weren't no standout performances, and that's why Ten Hag was so unhappy with the performance. He said that after the game. The last topic now we're going to do deliver like the Royal Mail and other postal things over here. Everyone else is on strike, but we're going to deliver it very quickly. So Jadon Sancho, the last topic, Shreyas. Sancho's gone on his own personal training program in the Netherlands. Ten Hag has said he's happy with his progress so far, and he's been working really hard. First question that comes to mind straight away is why Sancho specifically? Do you think he's requested this? What was it, the manager's decision? Like, what do you think?
I think it's actually a mutual, because for the onset of the World Cup, we saw that Jadon Sancho is media. He really wants to lock down into his game and get back to the level that. And I think it actually do him a lot of favor. Is a mutual. I think it is. I think he helps out, because we did see that Rashford, that Sancho was losing his spark, and like at the end of the season, end of last season under Ragnick, we saw certain elements in Jadon Sancho, which we were really, really excited to see. That we are seeing a player who knows how to dribble, who knows how to cross the ball, doesn't hesitate to take defenders on. We were seeing that from Sancho, but after the preseason, that completely disappeared from his game. In the preseason, Sancho, he looked completely electric. Like he could take anyone on. He was dribbling past players with ease. Left wing, right wing. At times, in one game, he actually played as a cam in there as well in the preseason. So he looked really promising. But once the season started, after the Liverpool game, he's not looked that great. His work rate was shocking at times as well. So um, I think definitely he needed a, a little smack on the back of his head because he does have that talent. We've seen it at Dortmund that if he's actually in form, what kind of output he can actually generate. Um, I think when it comes to pure talent, I think in this entire squad, I think he's one of the guys who's blessed with immense talent. And if Jadon Sancho is come back to the level that he was originally at Dortmund, I think he could be Ten Hag's go-to winger, even if Gakpo comes in.
Well, I think Sancho will probably work from the Ten Hag. Like, he'll be the most improved player tactically because of the way he plays.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, it's just not worked out. He's still trying to find his feet. He got 3 goals in his first season. Anthony's already got that already, so he does need to pick it up quickly. But sometimes it's, Jadon Sancho has been notoriously a slow burner, especially when he was in the German league as well. Why do you think it hasn't translated over to the Premier League so far? Because from what we saw at Dortmund, we've seen flashes of brilliance from him, but he hasn't done it consistently, has he?
Yeah, it hasn't. I think it hasn't really been easy for him because once again, when he did come in, he was immediately benched. For Martial or Rashford, or even at times to fit Ronaldo and Cavani both into the squad, he was benched as well. I think in under Oli, it was being rumored that Jadon Sancho could actually feature off as a wing back as well, which actually caused a lot of distrust among many United fans that we got in a winger, an out and out traditional winger for about 80 million, and now we're going to be using him as a wing back. Then under Ragnick, I think it was the first time we could see Jadon Sancho getting regular minutes on the field. Um, he looked really good in the first 5 to 6 games. Then we saw a little bit downgrade in his performances, but I think last season the end was actually brutal for any single player out there, the way it ended. And the preseason did look good, but yeah, I think it hasn't really translated well for him in the Premier League because I think at the start of the season, like you mentioned as well, it is a fresh slate for for every player who's going to be at the club now. And if they're able to impress the manager, I think Ten Hag is a manager who's always given players minutes on the field and chances on the basis of merit. If they are able to cut it on the ground, that's when they feature for them on the pitch. We've seen it with Garnacho as well when he wasn't serious, when he wasn't attending team meetings, was late to training, he didn't feature for us. And the moment he straightened up his act, he got into the starting 11, and he's been doing pretty well for us now. Similarly, Rashford as well. I think at the end of last season, he was at the lowest of his Manchester United career up until now. And the way he's come out and the way he's performed for us now, I think it has been absolutely brilliant. The way he's been performing at the World Cup as well it has been absolutely amazing. So I think Sancho definitely needs to think about that because once again the window is definitely coming up. We could see Gakpo, so there's going to be a lot more competition for him now to actually face. And yeah, I think the fact that he hasn't really gone to the World Cup could actually motivate him up a bit as well because the World Cup is definitely one of the biggest competitions any player out there. If you don't go to the World Cup, it is going to leave a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth if you actually if you don't even get picked, considering you're someone like Jadon Sancho who's that talented. I think it's definitely going to be tough. It hasn't really translated well for him at United up until now. Uh, Considering the price for what we got him as well, if you like, he's got about 8 goals and assists or 9 goals and assists. So it doesn't really translate well.
We've seen as well, he's had a blackout from social media. He's not been
Yeah,
on that at all. He's deactivated his accounts, this kind of stuff. So he must be either struggling with something mentally, which obviously I don't wish on anyone. He's having a tough time with something. Maybe there's some issues going on in the background that we don't know about. But the fact he's put himself on a personal program, he's hungry to get back into the team. You can see the competition that's arising. He's getting himself ready for the return when the World Cup's over, and hopefully he can progress from there and continue. And hopefully as well, we've got 3 more quarterfinal games, the semis, and then the finals. So hopefully none of our players come back injured
yeah,
and they're all fit and ready to go. Because that game when we get back, the Carabao Cup, it's like
yeah,
2-3 days after the World Cup
yeah,
finishes. So maybe we can have a bit more of a stronger squad than we initially thought, because we all thought Brazil was going to the final, etc., etc. So
yeah, we get
there could be
Anthony back without any injuries, so that's
and Casemiro,
Casemiro as well. So we get two of our biggest players back without any.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of news, that's been the show today. We wanted to get a quick show done. We didn't have one planned, but we thought we'd give you guys a bit of content for today to watch. If you haven't seen, in fact, before mentioning that, everyone subscribe to the channel, please. Smash a like on the video. If you want to follow us on social media, the handles are at the bottom of the graphic, or just head to the description in the video link. Heading into the weekend, of course, England are playing France in the quarterfinals, which is a massive game for us. So if you want to get yourself prepared for that, make sure you check our preview out on the channel. It was me, Savir, Sam, Aaron. Me, Savir, Sam, Aaron. Is that 4?
Yeah.
Me, Savir, Sam. And Adam, sorry, Aaron wasn't on. Me, Savir, Sam. I was thinking then. And just head to the start of the show for a surprise. You'll see what I mean. Very good show. So if you want to get yourself ready for that game, check out the preview. Shreya, it's always a pleasure to have you on with me, so thank you for your company.
Yeah, it has been a while since I've been on, so it was good to be back. And
Definitely.
hopefully, the way this World Cup is going, it's going to be a really, really entertaining week now. Argentina versus Netherlands starting soon as well, kicking off soon as well. Going to be a big game again. Could there be another twist coming up? We never know.
Well, give me your predictions before we go.
I think Argentina win.
What about the other two?
I think France win. Oh. I do hope England win for you, but I think just on the basis of how Kylian Mbappe has been performing and how Ousmane Dembele has actually been performing, that's why I give them edge. Because I think Harry Kane has been really off for England up until now. I don't think he's performed the way England actually wanted him to perform up until now. So I think it's going to be a tricky game, because when it just comes to attack, I think France are very, very well sorted. And Mbappe versus Maguire, I don't really see Maguire coming out on top in that battle. So,
well, hopefully he won't be playing up top, so we'll have to see it'll be Mbappe versus Kyle Walker. I'm hoping, but you never know. They could fucking switch it up. Like they've got great players across the attacking line, so they're all a threat. What about Morocco, Portugal?
I think Portugal win.
Yeah.
Portugal definitely.
So we would then have Croatia versus Argentina, Portugal versus France. Who wins that then?
I think the match that every single football fan wants happens after that.
Yeah. If England don't go through, that's what I want. That is what I want. For
Portugal
the fans,
versus Argentina,
we need to see that game. And imagine if Ronaldo didn't even start that game as well. Even in the team. Mad. Be absolutely mad.
I mean, it could be, people could be talking about Ronaldo versus Messi. It could end up being Martinez versus Bruno.
Yeah, it could literally. That's another one as well. Great angle to look at it from.
Yeah.
Who wins that? Very quickly.
Bruno wins it.
Portugal.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
To be fair, you said Portugal from the start, haven't you?
I said Portugal from the start. Before the World Cup and the scores were announced, I said Spain, because I thought someone was going for them as a keeper, but he wasn't picked. And it was good that they got knocked out in pens as well. So
yeah, I get it.
But I think Portugal. I think the way this World Cup has been progressing, I think any team can beat any team. I think even if England are able, I think England can definitely beat France as well. I think tonight,
if we beat France, we win it. I think if we beat France, we'll go on to win it.
I think if England beat France, they make it to the final and then lose.
So either way for you, it doesn't end well for England apparently. So we'll leave it on that. Hopefully Shreya's prediction isn't right in regards to that, but I can see in a lot of the other things that I can see
if you could have to see one of these scenarios playing out, would you want England to make the final, or would you be seeing Portugal versus Argentina for the one last time, Messi versus Ronaldo?
I want England to win a World Cup. If England can't win a World Cup, I want to see Portugal versus Argentina. That's how I would do it. But I don't think I'll sacrifice England winning a World Cup to see Messi. I don't know. It's quite close, if I'm being completely honest. Because I've said before, I've got on record on channel and said that I would probably take it. But England winning a World Cup, I ain't going to see that in my lifetime. So I think that'd be special to witness, and I'll be telling my grandkids about it in 60 years' time. So yeah, I think that'd be special for us. But
you'll be telling your grandkids that there was someone called Gareth Southgate who I supported every single time. Everyone slandered him, but I stood by him.
I'm gonna, if we do win tomorrow, there's gonna be a surprise on the show. I've got something planned, so stay tuned for that as well. So when we have our review, it'll either be the night of the game or the morning after the game. Keep an eye on that video because there's going to be a surprise in that. If we win, if we lose, then I'm not entirely sure the surprise will be there, but we'll see what happens.
If England lose, would you even say Southgate has to go?
We'll see. We'll discuss it. Right. We're going to go. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Check out our preview to get yourself ready for the England versus France game. And once again, thank you to Treyas for joining me. We'll be seeing much more of him when United return, I imagine. So, yeah. Cheers, Treyas. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.